Tony Guerrero, editor-in-chief of comicvine.com. We have Marv Wolfman here, who
some more enthusiasm, please.
We could go through a list of like all. If I listed the characters each one of you guys created, that would probably take up a full panel.
That's fine with us.
But then we also have Gerry Conway here in the middle. And on the end, we have Len Wein. So, I mean, the main thing, the reason we're here is looking at these characters that you guys have created, and basically how you've gone beyond just writing comic books. I mean, there's characters that are
Just writing comic books?
No, I mean, that's a big thing in itself. But you guys have written video games, you've written TV shows, some of you did in movies recently. So, I don't know who wants to go first with,
Well, start by asking us a question. That will make it easy.
All right, what's the one character, you guys can each take turns, the one character you created that you were kind of surprised at how much they took off in like other media? So you want to start? Or
I'll start. Of all of the characters I've ever created, the single one who seems to have gone the farthest that I expected the least out of was Lucius Fox. Lucius Fox has been in the latest series of Batman movies, and a lot of the various animated Batman series. And you put him in as a comic, I figured the structure of the series needed, but I didn't expect anything to happen with it. And now Morgan Freeman plays him.
I think for me it was Killer Croc, who I created as a villain for Batman because I wanted to find a different venue for Batman to be in than rooftops. So I thought, what's the opposite of rooftops? That would be the sewer system. So I'll create a character who would be down underground and do certain visuals. And it was picked up for animation, and now it's like the most popular character in toys and whatever of any of the characters that I've ever created. So it's like, that's weird. Thank God for Bruce Timm for doing that. Made it very cool.
Yeah, and in that vein, I guess I mentioned it in a previous panel, Emo Hamilton, of all characters, he was just sort of a wacky scientist that I did for a one-shot. And for some reason, somebody else used him, then somebody else used him. And he's been on Smallville regularly. He was on Lois and Clark. I'm sorry, he was on Lois and Clark first, then Smallville. In the early seasons, played by Joe Morton, and then later, in the later season, and killed. And then in the later seasons, he was played by Alessandro, I forget his last name, an actor for the last couple of seasons of Smallville. Then in the Superman movie, Man of Steel, he's played by Richard Schiff. And interestingly enough, there's a scene in the movie where Richard Schiff, playing Emo Hamilton, is talking to a tech who's played by the actor who played Emo Hamilton in Smallville. So I'm surrounded by emos.
Imploded.
Just too many emos.
Too many emos.
And the name, of course, was based on Edmund Hamilton, the comic book writer, science fiction writer, wrote a character I never expected would be in a second story, let alone in all these other products, including animation and everything else.
So, I mean, is it like just weird? Like, here's a character like that, you just create this character not thinking, and all of a sudden you're seeing them, come to life. What's that like?
I think in every one of our cases, these are characters we created 25 years before they took on this other life. So we didn't actually think about it all that much.
And most of us, I think, we're just trying to get through the effort of putting out another story for that month, and try to fill in a story need or a series need that we thought this might do it. It's more like what other people discovered in it is kind of surprising. I mean, Felicity Smoke, a character that I created for Firestorm as a regular on Arrow, and isn't the same character at all, but they just like that name, so now she's here every week. It's like, how did that happen? I have no idea. It's like, cool.
And I have all time.
Well, theoretically.
On that show, one of my characters that I didn't even realize that I had created after a while was Bethany Snow, who is the blonde news reporter they occasionally put on. So she wasn't regular in the Times, but I had completely forgotten about her.
Yeah. That's the other thing, we're getting old.
So when you first see
Dependent upon you guys to remember these things.
when you first see your characters come to life, I mean, is it a matter where you have to like distance yourself? Because like if you may see someone like that's not the character I created, now they're being portrayed differently. Is it? I mean, it's I'm sure it's an honor that they're taking the character you like, they know what you're doing with it, but then you're like, that's not quite how I planned it.
One of the first things I learned when I started working on the mediums, and it's one of the first things I tell people when I occasionally teach writing classes, is write for the medium you're working on. And the same thing applies to the character. You can't translate anything verbatim. They have to be changed as you change them. So never bother them, but whether they changes, they make songs that advances the story, and it's truly the sense of it.
It's sort of like when you hear a song that was originally written to be a rock song, and a country singer does a version of it. You know, it's both the same song and it's a new adaptation, and they're both cool and they both exist. You know, the original characters continue to exist, and then it's just a new interpretation. It's cool. I mean, Killer Croc has gone through so many permutations. I mean, bizarre versions of it.
They mutated him.
And mutated him, there's the version in the cartoon, there's the version in the video game, there's the version in the new DC, there's the version in the old DC. It's like, okay, cool. Big rock. It's all fun.
So speaking of
It's all fun.
with the video games and television, did you guys take a different approach when you worked on those projects? Like, you write one way for the comic, and obviously a video game, it's you have to write your script, but then it's a lot open depending on how the player plays characters.
Well, video game is more about, in those cases, the action and how you set up the story, because it's the player who's in charge. You're not the one who is telling everybody what to do. You're the character, and you try to keep them within character of what they can do, but they decide everything from that point on. So, when I do the DCU game, that's a massive multiplayer game, and that one is 100% in the hands of the players. When you do a game like, say, Reminder, that one is called on the rails, which means you have to follow a certain path, but essentially you're still deciding how to do it, even if you can't get off that path. So you guide the player, and what you try to do is write a really interesting story that's video game centric, that can be told within action, and you move from there. But the player is in charge of providing is an interesting story to keep them wanting to continue the game and not give it up after an hour.
All right, Len, let's talk about X-Men.
Okay, let's.
So, what was that whole experience like? One day, they were like, "We're making this movie. We want you to come out, and we're going to use a bunch of characters that you're responsible for."
It was more fun than any writing, basically. I was flattered to be invited. It's always watching them translate, the characters and seeing how close they stick again to the spirit. I mean, I guess I said it earlier, very lucky. I mean, Halle Berry, Hugh Jackman. I mean, the first thing Hugh ever said to me the first time we met was, "I'm sorry I'm so tall." He's 6'3", and I said, "That's okay, I tell people you play him short." And he does. If you actually look at the first couple of movies, especially you don't realize how tall he is. And worse than that, he's better at being in person. I just hate that. But it's fun. I mean, it was interesting to be part of that world for a couple of days, and you know, it was nice to have a makeup person, so it looked like a human being. But it's constant. You know, it's just how close do you go? How close do you want to stay? You know, I just thought the latest one was terrific. It was one of the best ones overall, and it's sweet. Yeah, you have to sort of live with what you got.
Now, Gerry, you are responsible for killing Wednesday.
No, that's not what. I told him not to do it. I said, you know, don't keep her alive this time, man.
I got a second shot.
Yeah, it's like, just keep it going. And he said, no, we gotta kill her.
Now, over the years since the story came out, I mean, did you know, what was it like? And back then, you know, we didn't have the internet where people could like, you know, tweet you like, why'd you kill her? I mean, did you hear a lot of, you know, over the years?
Oh, yeah. I mean, we got hate mail starting with the first part of that two-part. And I mean, I won't say hate mail. I mean, readers' reactions were very strong based on the fact they were emotionally touched by the story. So, you know, that's actually good news. You know, it's not bad news at all. But there was a lot of kickback on it. Negative feedback. I can't imagine what it would be like to do something that had a comparable with that. But by the same token, the way things are now, I don't think there's anything that could have a comparable with that, because we're cynical about storytelling. And when you kill a character off, it's not a matter of, oh, they killed that character off. It's more a matter of, when are they going to bring them back or her back? So there's no real sense of shock or permanence to any of this kind of stuff. And that I think is a big difference between now and 6 years.
I think the other one is you have to tell the retailers 4 months in advance what's happening, and the covers are already on the stand. You know, they're seeing this in the catalogs, so there's no secrets anymore. And the day that you stop having the ability to surprise a reader as they read the story is really a shame.
Yeah, Dan Slott was telling me that he basically begged everybody who knew about it that, you know, that not to tell anybody an Amazing Spider-Man, number 1, the new edition, that Peter Parker is naked for the first 5 pages, you know, just like that. He said, that's the only surprise I can try to keep. And by the way, if you don't know that,
Now, Marv, we're seeing Deathstroke as another character that you had a hand in. I mean, he's pretty much exploded recently. He's in Arrow, he's been in Arkham Origins video game. So what's it like seeing the differences, you know, in the different mediums?
Well, so far it's been phenomenal. Deathstroke's been as close as one can get to the original concepts. Yeah, he's Australian in the show, but Len Wein plays him with such power and sympathy. I mean, he gets both sides of Deathstroke, which is so important to that character. He just gets it. And in the video games, he's played like a tough guy. You know, he's played exactly the way he is. So I've been really lucky in most of the characters that I've had translated, whether in animation or live action, have been fairly close, but Deathstroke is